I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up.
You need controls on this. You need regulation. You cannot let these guys control discourse in this country.
Americans trusting Republicans over Democrats to handle inflation and the economy more generally.
Joe Biden did the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend, made some interesting jokes, and laughed at some jokes that he probably shouldn't have laughed at. People on CNN are still talking about misinformation and disinformation. Got a fantastic article about how Republicans can stop the disinformation police that are instituted by Joe Biden. Oh, and a lot more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is May 2nd, the year of our Lord, 2022. Joe Biden did the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend. Made some funny jokes. We'll give him that. But also laughed at a couple they probably shouldn't have, and said some truths about the media themselves that I thought were interesting. Let's go ahead and get right to that. Then we've got the information police, which is a thing that's actually happening in the White House, in the administration. We'll talk about that fascinating article in the Federalist about how Republicans can stop the information police and should, and also electric vehicle tax breaks. Wow. That did not sound exciting, but I promise you it is. Over the weekend, Joe Biden did a White House Correspondents' Dinner, a time-honored tradition, I guess, if you want to call it that. But President Trump, the last couple of years, actually, I'm not sure if he ever did one. I think the president doesn't have to show up to these things. They can have the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That's totally fine. President isn't required to go. Donald Trump said, hey, all of you people are just lying about me constantly. So he just like, I'm out. I'm not going to go to this thing. This is dumb. So he didn't. And obviously, COVID put this thing off the last couple of years. But Joe Biden did it on Saturday night. Trevor Noah made a funny joke. You've probably seen this circulating around the internet. If you haven't already, there's a couple thousand people watching it. Click the little like button. Would really, really appreciate you doing that. Click the little share button. Because if you haven't seen this clip already, again, it's been floating around the internet. Trevor Noah made a joke, and people haven't taken it very well. The joke is true. It's also funny. But the way the president reacted, not super awesome. Watch this, and then we'll get into a couple of other things that Joe Biden said. Check this out.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything. No, it really has been a tough first year for you, Mr. President.
So, Trevor Noah, maybe you disagree with him. You probably disagree with him heavily on stuff. But in a lot of ways, sometimes he likes to tell the truth, and made a joke about the president saying, everything is looking up, Mr. President. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up. All of these things are up. Joe Biden then laughed hysterically at it. Did a laugh clap at it. That was so funny for him. Probably not the best reaction to have. Now, is the joke true? Absolutely. Is it funny? Yes. But it's also because the reason it's funny is because it's true, and it's true because it's affecting a lot of American people. If I were Joe Biden, probably wouldn't have laughed that big, because a lot of people are taking that as, hey, you're laughing at a lot of financial suffering around the country? That doesn't seem cool, dude. It's interesting as the president how you have to react to these sort of things. But again, a lot of people don't think he handled that very well. He also made a joke that was interesting. We're not going to bore you with a ton of clips from this. But the president did make a joke hitting the media themselves and himself. He talked about his crazy low approval rating. Well, I'm not going to ruin the joke. Just watch this. And then actually after this clip, we have a fascinating clip about ABC's polling on the president's approval rating. In addition to this, watch this.
I'm really excited to be here tonight with the only group of Americans with a lower approval rating than I have.
Again, funny joke, but it's not a good situation to have that joke in. The president has a terrible approval rating. Quinnipiac, I think, still has him at like 36%. There's a poll that we'll get to in just a couple seconds that has him a little bit up from that, but not when it comes to the issues stuff, things that people actually vote on. But he's also right. The only people that have a lower approval rating than the president is the media, which sits at like 15%. Seriously, look it up. And Congress, who I think sits at like 18, 19%. People don't like the media, Congress, or the president, which is crazy to me. Watch this. This is from Good Morning America. I believe this morning, George Stephanopoulos talking about, and a correspondent talking about the Biden approval rating. Now, when you hear this, you listen to this, you're going to hear a thing you disagree with about why the approval rating is up a couple points. Now, get through that so you can hear what she's actually talking about in terms of how the midterms look and all that stuff. Again, if you haven't already, would really, really appreciate it if you click the little like button and click the little share button. Really, really helps us out, get to more people, and keep doing what we're doing. Watch this.
With 6 months to the midterms, the president is facing a very real host of serious challenges. His approval rating is still underwater, just 42%, though that is up 5 points since February, thanks to his handling of the pandemic and Ukraine. That is some welcome news for this White House, but the economy and rising costs are still driving voter discontent and frustration. 57% disapprove of Biden's work on the economy more broadly. Americans trusting Republicans over Democrats to handle inflation and the economy more generally.
So that's the polling from the president over the weekend. ABC did a poll, and their poll, he has him a little bit up. They say that he's up because of his handling of Ukraine and COVID, which is an odd excuse to say why he's up. Odd reasoning there from that reporter. But nevertheless, the president's poll ratings are down even further, especially when it comes to inflation and the economy. And people tend to trust Republicans more than they do the current administration. Now, I want to get to this. This is, actually, let's go here first. The information police chief. We're having some technical difficulties. So we've all heard about the information police, the truth ministry that the Biden administration is putting into place, housed under Homeland Security. Now, couple quick things. Homeland Security, if you don't know, has more weapons than any other department in government besides the Department of Defense. So that's a big thing. The department outside of the military that has the most ammunition, the most firepower, the most ability to exercise authority is instituting a disinformation board / ministry, truth ministry, the information police. So there was an article. So we've all heard about that. We've all heard about Nina Jankowicz, who is seemed to be somewhat of a crazy person. Really, really dislikes disinformation unless it benefits her side. She was a big proponent of the Hunter Biden laptop being Russian disinformation. What else did she say? She also said something early on. Oh, the whole Trump-Russia thing. She was big on that. That turned out to be a big freaking nothing. Turned out she was a big proponent of the dossier, all of that sort of stuff. But this was out of the Federalist. Rachel Bovard in the Federalist talking about how Republicans in the Senate can stop this, and they should. I don't think if a Republican was the sitting president and put this in place, I would also be irritated at this. Or not irritated. Irritated is probably not the right word. Scared about this sort of thing. But in the Federalist, they're talking about this. The executive branch does not fit in a vacuum. This is kind of long, so stay with me. But I think it's important on how they can stop the truth police put forth by the Biden administration. Legislation still has a say in the formation of a government speech board month before the election cycle, within days of Musk's free speech-driven buy of Twitter, should prompt an urgent response. The most powerful weapon the legislature has is the power of the purse. Agencies cannot carry out their directive or initiative for their programs without Congress approving and authorizing money for them to do so. House Republicans are reportedly already drafting legislation to defund the formation and maintenance of this disinformation board. I believe that's already done. Lauren Boebert, I think, tweeted this morning, this article is a couple days old, this morning, that she has drafted legislation to stop the funding of this board housed under Homeland Security. But remember, the House doesn't have a majority, so Democrats are likely going to crush it because they're pro-information police. Senate, however, senators have more options. Regardless of which party is in the majority, each senator has the power to make the body vote on any proposal of its choosing. Senators can circumvent the committee process under the Senate's Rule 14 and place legislation directly onto the Senate's calendar, where they can then move to proceed on it. Provided there's no other businesses pending in that motion, known as the motion procedure, it automatically is made pending before the Senate and requires the Senate to vote, unless cloture is filed and the vote is considered a 51-vote threshold. In other words, Republican senators have the option that the House does not. They can force every senator to be on the record regarding the Biden administration's effort to police free speech from the Department of Homeland Security. Basically, this can be a big political strategy with Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and with the midterms coming up and with the president's very low approval rating based on freedom, but also inflation and the economy as a whole. Senators can be put on the record being either in favor of the information police, the truth ministry that I think Errol Weber pointed out that Stalin had, Hitler had, Goebbels had, and Joe Biden now wants to have. Not great company to be involved with. But they have the ability to get senators on the records of being either for or against it, which could be enough of a political point to make senators be beholden to their voters. That's basically the process in which the legislation can have some sort of power to thwart the Biden administration's ability to put a truth ministry into practice. Now, without boring you any further, I wanted to get to this CNN clip about information, disinformation, the truth. He's not talking about the information police being put in place by the Biden administration. He's talking about this particular CNN correspondent. He's talking about Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter. You have to listen to this because this is it's crazy that people are out there saying this sort of thing. It's crazy that people think this way. It's even crazier that they are on a national platform talking about this with such open terms, not thinking anything is going to blow back on them. Watch this. If you haven't clicked it, if you haven't already, again, really, really appreciate you clicking the little like button right down here and the little share button if you can. Really, really helps us out. Watch this from a CNN panelist talking about Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter because disinformation is so crucial.
No, I think there's a bigger problem that when we focus on the personalities of people like Elon Musk and people say, oh, I think Elon's thinking this or that. There's a bigger problem here about how we are going to control the channels of communication in this country. In 1927, we had the Radio Act. 1934, the Communications Act. Congress stepped in. We made rules. FCC wasn't great, but it's still regulating the broadcast industry. You can't use vulgar language. You can't do all these things with speech. We gave over our what amounts to our airwaves or our internet waves to Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. And we are in so much trouble because those guys believe in making money. We've already seen that with the 2016 election in Zuckerberg when he was taking rubles for ads from Russia and saying, oh, I think it's crazy to think they had any influence on this election. Musk is the same. Musk doesn't want it. Oh, you know, he's upset with the SEC, tried to, how dare they question him? You know what I'm saying? This is dangerous. We can't think anymore in this country. We don't have people, no, I'm serious, we don't have people in Congress who can make regulations that can make it work. I think we can look to the Western countries in Europe for how they are trying to limit it. But you need controls on this. You need regulation. You cannot let these guys control discourse in this country or we are headed to hell. We are there. Trump opened the gates to hell.
And so I would ask that guy, how do you think you're going to control information? I would imagine he would be a big proponent of the Biden information police. Again, crazy to me that one, people think this, and two, he thinks that, oh, this is as common as it gets. I think this is a common enough thought where I can say this on CNN. Rip CNN Plus. I want to change directions entirely because I thought this is fascinating too. This is, again, the federal government trying to push things on the American people. The American people clearly don't want, or at least haven't wanted for a long time, but at the same time, they don't need to be pushing at this point because the appetite for this particular thing has grown. Electric vehicles for the longest time have been given a massive tax break. If you are one of the wealthy people that can afford a Tesla, which I think sticker price averages around like $60,000, it is a luxury car. If you're one of the privileged people that can afford a Tesla, guess what? The federal government has been giving you a tax break. I think it's like $7,500. You get like $7,500 to purchase a Tesla. Again, that tax break doesn't go to the people that can't afford Teslas, such as myself. We don't get a tax break for buying our cars, but if you buy one of the more expensive cars on the market, you get government money to do so. Now, the reason for doing that was trying to spur people on to buying electric cars. But given gas prices of how high they are and the massive now waiting list for electric cars across America, Joe Manchin, Democratic senator from West Virginia, who I believe is up for re-election in November, said, yeah, this is ridiculous that we're still doing this. One, it's ridiculous because, like I mentioned, they are giving tax breaks to rich people. This is a Democrat-led initiative, I think, instituted under the Obama administration, which is usually not what Democrats say that they're for, giving tax breaks to those who can afford to buy an electric vehicle. But at the same time, he makes a pretty decent point. Manchin, a swing vote and a linchpin for an extension of the electric vehicle tax break, described it as ludicrous that the White House proposal to expand the popular tax credit, which currently offers buyers $7,500 off the price of the new electric vehicle. Manchin cited a large backlog of orders for electric vehicles and orders for vehicles and car makers to wrangle with shortages of critical parts, suggesting an incentive wasn't needed. That's a pretty good point also. Manchin basically pointing out, hey, there are huge backlogs and lines for people trying to get electric vehicles, in part due to the massive increase in gas prices. There's a ton of people that want electric vehicles. I want an electric vehicle. I don't think the government should mandate electric vehicles. We've gone through the numbers of how not possible it is for the government to make people drive electric vehicles. If I remember the numbers correctly, there's 330 million people in the United States. Tesla, in the last 10 years since its foundation, has sold 2 million cars. That's it. And they're the biggest car manufacturer of electric vehicles there is. So to say that all Americans should be driving electric vehicles is crazy. But Joe Manchin is saying, yeah, Tesla has a huge waiting list and a huge backlog. There's no need to continue to incentivize people to buy electric vehicles with government taxpayer money. He says there's a waiting list for EVs right now with fuel prices where they are, but they still want to throw $5,000 or $7,000 or $12,000 in credit for us to buy electric vehicles, Manchin, a West Virginia Democrat, said during a Senate budget hearing featuring Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Manchin's remarks in response to the efforts to revive a provision for the now stalled Build Back Broke Act said they would increase the current credit to as much as $12,500. He makes a pretty dang good point. Again, I know this is not the most sexy topic, but it is interesting. Jen Psaki was asked about this last week, and I thought that clip was kind of funny. So I wanted to play that. This is Jen Psaki being asked about Democrat Senator Joe Manchin's divergence from the party, smartly, by the way, on electric vehicles. Watch this.
To quarter.
And then lastly, this happened while you came out here, so you might not have heard about it, but Senator Manchin said at a hearing that he thinks the electric vehicle tax credit quote makes no sense. And I'm wondering what your reaction to that is and whether you think that further complicates skinny reconciliation bill getting through.
I would say that Senator Manchin remains a friend of the president's and someone we will continue to work with and look forward to continuing engagements with. Go ahead.
So the White House press secretary dodging the question as best she could, saying, yeah, he's still a friend, but we don't really like him right now, essentially. Joe Manchin, one of the reasonable Democrats, it would seem, in the Senate. I think there actually are more reasonable ones, but they don't want to break party lines because Joe Manchin and people like Kristen Sinema are going to do it for them. That's going to do it for us today. We appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. There's some great clips that I found that I want to play from Alejandro Mayorkas tomorrow. If you don't know who he is the Department of Homeland Security Secretary. He is the Minister of Truth's boss, because that's where it's housed under. Looks like we're glitching a little bit. But in doing that, that doesn't make any sense. We'll play that clip tomorrow. He's on, I think, State of the Union, talking about the border crisis, which is out of control if you didn't already know that. So we will be playing that clip tomorrow from Alejandro Mayorkas, and I feel like that's going to be the big clip that's everybody's going to be talking about. Until then, and anything happens, if the Biden administration comes out in front of a microphone, we'll bring it to you, any of the clips from that. Other than that, we will see you tomorrow. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB pretty much anywhere. Got a lot of people on the Instagram that are brand new. If you're not following me on the Instagram machine, would appreciate it. I don't know. I'm hilarious. I think I'm hilarious. Yeah, you should give me a follow. That's going to do it for us today. Appreciate you tuning in, sticking around. If you missed any segment of this, you can rewatch on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever we put the video out. You can also watch it or listen to it on the podcast while you're doing yard work and, I don't know, cleaning the pool, things of that sorts, doing the dishes, whatever it is that you're doing, household chores, kind of a fun thing to listen to in the background. Anyways, I'll stop jabbering. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless America.